Alright, how is it going, everybody? So, I posted a video recently, I think it was titled Mate in 2 Fail or something. What I did in that video was I took a Mate in 2 puzzle, White to Move and Mate in 2 that I had never seen before. I had only just set it up on the board, no computer, no ideas, no hints, no nothing. And I just tried to solve it in front of everybody, to show my thought process, inner monologue, the ideas that I'm thinking about, the ideas, it's just sort of advice for how you guys should be thinking about creating checkmates, looking for threats, looking for squares around the king. And what happened was it was a super hard puzzle, right? Because that's what I'm doing. A lot of times people think mate in twos, they're pretty easy puzzles. Sometimes they can be super, super tricky for a number of reasons that I'm sure I'm going to cover in this video as well. I didn't solve the puzzle last time, so I'm back again, right? It's all about persistence. I want to solve it this time. Hopefully I do, but obviously we're on the same page right now. I haven't seen this puzzle. I've just set it up. So I'm going to launch right into it. Same thing, white to move, mate in 2. I'm probably just going to do this one puzzle because they're pretty difficult, and I am still working on mastering the tricky mate in 2, so they take me a little bit. So let us get right into it, okay? So obviously the first thing I'm going to notice about this position is that this king is smack in the center of the board on my favorite square, e4. Okay, so the king is in the center of the board. Let's just eye the squares surrounding him, right? Obviously, these two pawns are already covered. We have to put the king in check on e4 at least for our first or second move. He's going to be checkmate on e4 if he's going to move away. Our pawns do a nice job covering all of these squares in front of the king. And this knight right here is covering f4 and d4. So again, and the rook guards f5. So again, similarly to some of the other puzzles I've done that are mate in 2s, every single square around this king is guarded except for the one that he's on. So if I could make a check right now and leave all these squares guarded, I would have my checkmate in 1. Obviously, that's unfortunate, right? A check would be, queen b4, but then they're able to block with a move like bishop d4. But anyways, I haven't even started really calculating yet. So a few things to know about mate in 2s that don't look like they might happen here, but sometimes just to make it hard to make a mate in 2, someone will try and put you in check, so you have to move your king, and then unfortunately you can't really do the mate in 2, so you have to stick to that strict only 2 moves, right? I'm gonna play 2 moves, my opponent's gonna play 1, and the game is gonna be over. Another thing I noticed, obviously my queen is going to be taken next move. This could very likely be a tricky puzzle where I just sacrifice that queen, and if they take, I do have a checkmate. But that's something we'll have to find out. One important thing, remember we talked about all 3 of these pieces, these 2 pieces and these 2 pawns are all playing a role in surrounding this king. This knight, however, is not doing that, right? So knight f2 would be checkmate, except for this annoying queen being in the way. So that's just something I think that is important to notice, because it means this knight is more free, right? It has more free will, we can say, but it just has more acceptable movement because we kind of want to leave these pieces here, stay control around this king. So let's say we played a move like queen takes a7, because that's the first move that I immediately see. Free queen on the board, right? Of course we'll win this, but we are trying to do our sort of mate in 2 sort of trick. The problem with this, it's not a very forcing move. It looks like there's a ton of options. So let's say black plays a move like bishop d4. Do I have a checkmate in 1 in this position? I'm not finding one right now. I know knight f2, it falls into the same sort of thing. A move like d3 check, king e3 is possible. This queen sure isn't going to come in and take that bishop. The queen doesn't have any other checks on the board. Oh, she does have queen takes h7, which is checkmate. Okay, there we go. We found one. Okay, so we can keep going with this variation. So just to reiterate, if you missed that, because I went through it kind of quickly, bishop d4, queen takes h7 is the only good check. I mean, it's a checkmate, right? So obviously it's good. So we have to look at our other moves. This king can't move. Let's remember that. And it looks like the only other move would be this pawn d4 move, right? Because all these pawns are stuck either behind a pawn or behind a king. So, oh, and let's just notice any other move with this bishop, wherever it is, knight f2 is going to be our checkmate, okay? All right, I'm hoping this is a variation. That'd be super nice. But pawn d4, let's see. Do we have a checkmate here? Let's notice queen takes h7, no longer checkmate because of this d5 escape square. It looks like knight f2, again, no longer checkmate because of this king d5 escape square. So, how can we attack these 2 squares in one move? Obviously, I'm looking at, queen b7, but this move, d5, gets in the way. So, I'm not sure exactly how I would be able to attack these 2 squares in a single move, right? I'd like to have my knight maybe here or something and attack the 2 squares at once. The knight obviously can't get there. This knight can't move because it's covering this key f4 square, so we might, unfortunately, have hit a dead end. My last video, I thought I hit a dead end, and I had completely found the answer. I was one move away, and I had to go back. So I'm hoping that's not the case that's going on here. I really don't see any other checks that work with this queen, right? Am I right, guys? No? No, I think this is not the correct variation. Okay, so we can't take that queen. What if we tried something like queen to b4 check? Okay, similar idea. If the queen came to d4, knight f2 is still checkmate. If this bishop came to d4, again, knight f2, boom, checkmate. So the only move is pawn d4. Does this change anything? I'm beginning to think, no, it does not, is what it's looking like. Because again, I need to cover these two squares in a singular move. I don't think that is going to happen with one move. Gosh, I really wish this knight could just jump to f6. So close, right? I can get to g5, just can't get to f6. But I can't even get to g5 because my rook is there. All right. New variation. All right, let's see what we are working with. I'm thinking, I'm just trying to think of any ideas. Queen takes d5, trying to get that out of the way. We could try a pawn push, move 1, pawn d3. But after king e3, this king just has so many more squares that he has access to. So this is looking just a lot harder than I would expect. And I don't think this is checkmate. Right? Take this, obviously he has these escape squares right here. Okay. Different idea. This is what chess is all about, guys. These are all candidate moves. Ideas I'm presenting. We're trying out different moves. We're trying to calculate them out. I'm moving the pieces because, I'm trying to just show the idea. Sometimes it can be hard to follow, but usually, of course, I'd be calculating on a still board. So let's see something else. If we play knight f2, queen takes f2, again, right, I don't think there is a checkmate in one move there. This king is here on e4, queen, a move like queen before here, I can show it. Knight f2 check. The only move queen takes f2 to get out of checkmate. Oh, wow, so close. This would be, looks like a mate in 3. Unfortunately not, though. See, here's what I'm thinking now is queen takes h5, h7, sorry, h7 check first. This king again has no moves. The only move here, sorry, does not work, would be queen takes h7, guys. This is what I'm exactly talking about. Giving a check, and I cannot do a mate in that position. But what was my thinking? My thinking was if I draw this queen away, then knight f2 is a possibility for checkmate. So I was hoping that would happen. It didn't, which is very, very unfortunate. So if I think about another idea, right? If I'm thinking about an idea, say like queen b5, right? Threatening queen d3, also threatening knight f2 if that queen moves away. Here's what I was talking about before. This queen can just give me check, and then I have to move. My second move can't be checkmate. Sorry. So that is why puzzles like this are often difficult. These mate in twos, they can just sort of make it very, very hard to progress per se. Okay, so it might be the case that I have to move some of my other pieces. So let's look at this rook g4 move. The king will come to f5. I have a lot of empty squares right now that I need to cover for this king, including the one that he's on. Can I do this all in one move? That looks like a bit of a stretch. Knight g7 comes close, but king f6 and king takes g4 still remain as options. All right, these puzzles are hard. Let's acknowledge it. We're not going to ignore that fact. Let's see. What is another idea that we could possibly test out? Because we are always willing to test out new ideas, of course. It would also be an interesting idea to try and guard this e3 square, and then play d3 checkmate. That seems hard though. This knight can't get to d3 in one, get to guard e3 in one move, which is exactly what we need. So that is kind of disappointing, I guess we could say. All right, I'm getting to the point of being a little bit stumped, but I think we can work through this, right, guys? Yes, I think most definitely we can work through this puzzle. All right, so what if I just make my opponent sort of do a waiting move, right? What if I just played king h5? Okay, so the thinking is this queen kind of, well, I guess she doesn't have to move whatsoever. If they just move their bishop, Well, if they move their bishop, I have this super neat queen b1 checkmate. Ooh, I feel like I'm onto something. Okay, guys, here's the idea with king h5. I hope this is right because I'm running out of steam after this. King h5, the point is, if this queen moves, right, she has to guard h7 and f2 at the same time, right? We have our knight f2 checkmate. We have queen takes h7 checkmate, okay? We know this king can't move. Now this pawn can't move because of this pin we have right here. So the queen can't move. The bishop can't move because we just saw, right? Any square this bishop goes to, queen b1 is checkmate. I'm smelling the checkmate. It's right there, okay? All right, so king h5. I believe this is our mate, right? If something like queen b6, we have queen takes h7 checkmate. If something like queen f2, right? We can just honestly just take the queen on f2. Something like queen d4, queen takes h7 is again checkmate. Wow, king h5, super sneaky. Avoids like a queen takes b7 check if the king moves to g7. Now if the queen takes, knight f2 is checkmate. All right, I feel like this is the answer. This would be very embarrassing if it's not. Sorry about the phone ding. It's silenced now. But this, it'd be very embarrassing if it wasn't. I have no idea what black could possibly do here. Okay, bishop can't move again, right? b1 is checkmate. Knight is threatening f2. Queen takes h7. What move works? All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn on my stockfish here. I'm crossing my fingers. I'm hoping it's king h5. Wow. What happens after king h5? King h5, pawn h6. Wow, super sneaky. Queen h7 check. Queen takes h7. Knight f2. Mate in 3. So close. So close. I missed this small little move. h6. Okay, and this h6 is so smart, right? Like I said, they only had these 3 other pieces to move, okay? These were their only other options. I just missed this pawn right here because I wasn't thinking about it, and unfortunately it is a mate in 3. Well, let's take a look at our answer because we've already revealed it. Looks like knight to d4, okay? Different options. If queen takes d4 or bishop takes, queen takes h7, we know is going to be our checkmate. If pawn takes, on d4, it looks like, that blocks, well, no, not knight f2. If pawn takes d4, our checkmate is, here we go, queen takes d5 checkmate. Super smart, opening up the rook to c on d5. And what else can they do? Similar situation, nothing else can move, and now this pawn cannot go to h6. If this bishop moves, let's just say they do sort of, let's say a waiting move. Where is our checkmate here? We have checkmate in 1. Blanking? No. Rook g4 checkmate. Ooh, very pretty. The knight now guards f5. Took care of that responsibility, and it looks like we didn't do king takes, but here queen to b4 would be checkmate. All right, guys. So you know what? I think it's okay to be able to see coaches make mistakes. Okay, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and still post this video. I think king h5 still, like we saw, completely wins. Pawn h6. You force this. Now it's not check. Remember, we wanted to play this before, but it was check when the queen took on h7. I can show you. Remember, at one point I had an idea, queen takes h7, but now it was check. Now in this case, after king h5, h6, queen h7, the queen is forced to take knight f2. So I found the mate in 3. So I came this close. So I will call it progress. I will call it progress, and I'll probably be back sooner or later with another mate in 2 video, and hopefully this time I have absolutely just mastered this. But I hope you get a little bit of joy out of seeing me struggle through these problems. I hope you are paying attention to the way that I'm looking at squares and spatial awareness and mating threats, mating nets in particular, right? Looking at all these different threats, how can we combine them? Even though I only found the mate in 3, I still think it's a super cool mate in 3. King h5, what a slick move. But I'll be back, don't worry. I'll be back with another mate in 2 video, and I think this time I'm going to absolutely crush it. And I will see you guys then.